Yeah.
What's your prediction for Saturday night?
Be another unanimous decision. Floyd will win 10 rounds to 2 and show everybody he still got it and put on a similar performance they put on last September against Canelo. He's smarter, quicker, he's got more experience, and he's just money.
Okay, so you're saying 10 to 2, it's going to go the distance?
Yeah, I don't think Floyd's going to have enough power to knock him out. I wouldn't be surprised, though. Don't be surprised if Floyd put him on his tail, though. I would not be surprised if that happens.
Maidana, does he even have a boxer's chance here at all?
As long as Floyd boxes him, there's no way. By being ringside the first fight, if people remember, before Floyd got the cut with the headbutt in the 4th round, Floyd laid on the ropes and kind of played into his bully tactics when he was trying to figure him out. When the action was in the middle of the ring, when it was just boxing mano a mano, minus as Floyd in his camp likes to say, the MMA moves that Maidana pulled, he controlled the action, and it was Floyd Mayweather all day. And I also went to Maidana's best fight when he beat Adrian Broner was ringside. And a lot of people don't realize, everybody talk about the shot that shocked all of us when he put Broner on his tail, but once Broner got up, he actually outboxed him from rounds 3 to 7 or 8 or so. It was when he tried to slug with him that he got caught. Floyd's too good and too smart to get in a slugging match with this guy, and he might be a little bit bigger than Floyd, but when you've been in the likes of Canelo Alvarez and you make him look like the way he looked, this is easy work.
And with Broner, I think Broner was just kind of asleep and didn't take the fight that serious. If he would have, I don't think he would have lost it. Let's say, hypothetically, that Broner doesn't lose that fight. Would Broner have fought Mayweather? Because that's what everybody wants to see, 2 undefeated guys.
Oh no, they wasn't gonna fight. He literally looks up to Floyd as his idol. What people don't understand about Broner, as good of a clown as he is, the guy's a talented fighter. He put that on display on Saturday with a hell of a performance. He stood there and went toe-to-toe, got that left hook to finish it off, and fought a very game of man with Taylor. His thing is he's fighting people as if he's used to being a bigger guy. He's not that big of a guy. That's why Maidana did what he did to him. Maidana's way bigger than him, and that he got what he deserved. You can't sit here and slug with somebody bigger than you. It's not going to work out for you 9 times out of 10. Floyd just makes it look easy, but not everybody's Floyd, as we all know.
Yeah, that quickness. And that Broner fight was probably the fight of the year so far. Great fight, but I didn't think that Taylor was the fighter that Mayweather is. I don't know how good Broner can be going forward. And you said that's his idol. I agree with you, but he has to fight him. Mayweather has 2 fights left. He announced his retirement. As I read your piece on thesource.com, a great piece. But he's saying he has 2 fights left. Doesn't he owe it to the boxing fans? Doesn't Broner owe it to us for them to get in the ring?
Not necessarily. But see, here's the thing, though. Broner's only losses to Maidana. And Floyd, by Saturday night, Floyd would have beat him twice. So the appeal won't be as high. They could sell a lot of money with all the sideshow. But from a boxing standpoint, Floyd has nothing to gain. And another thing that a lot of people don't know, the boxing game is really crazy. The way the Maidana fight happened, people do not know this. Listen to what I'm saying. This is exclusive stuff. He got into Adrian Broner last year, exactly this time of the year, at the weigh-in for Canelo and Floyd. They got into it later that night to MGM and almost had a real fight in the MGM Grand somewhere in the casino, to the point where Broner, feeling good because he had just won that 3 belts at 24, demanded that they fight by the end of the year. Fast forward 4 months later, he fights him in San Antonio, Texas, in the Alamo Dome. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Gets put on his tail, not once but twice, loses his belt. Now all of a sudden people will see Maidana fight Mayweather just like that. So you never know what's going to happen, because something could happen this weekend. Keith Thurman or somebody could do something crazy, do something by the end of the year, and they're the number 1 person Floyd signs up with around Christmas time. So before the fight unfolds, nobody knows how it's going to happen, because somebody could get into it this weekend and they write their ticket. That's how Maidana did. Maidana went outside the boxing world. People know who Marcus Maidana was this time last year. Would you agree?
Of course.
And he went from nobody to somebody, all because he got into Adrian Broner at the MGM Grand, and then he whooped him 4 months later where it counted. So it can happen. That's what happened last year.
Yeah, I knew who Maidana was going into that fight before. I didn't know anything about the fight that you're talking about at the Vegas, but I knew who he was going in, and I actually predicted that he was going to beat him, that he would beat Broner. I didn't think he beat him like he did and knock him down twice. I want to see 2 people that put on a show when they fight. I know Mayweather's a defensive fighter, but he can put on a show. I'd like to see him go in there with Broner. That's what I want to see. I think Mayweather's going to win, this weekend. I would like to see it. I don't know if Broner's in the same level. He's very quick. I don't know if he has this. I don't know if he can fight with Mayweather. I don't know if he's that caliber of a fighter.
No, he's not. And I think, too, is the weight thing. He was too little for 147. He should have never fought 147 in the beginning. That's the reason people don't skip weight classes. He skipped over 140 because he knew, probably my analogy, yeah, he's a good fighter, but he knew he didn't have the power to knock him out. He basically got away with it, stole the belt, and he should have slid back down. He stayed back there and fought a real 147 and found out he ain't about that life.
Where do you list Mayweather all time? Let's say he fights these next 3 fights he has. He has one Saturday. He says he's going to do 2 more. Then where would you list him all time, as all-time boxer?
Well, all time, he's got to be in the top 2 or 3. As far as in our generation, people born in the 80s and below, he's got to be the best fighter for simply fact. People sit there and say, oh, he didn't fight nobody. Well, if you break down his record, over half his victories have been against people that were champion at one time in their career. So he's got 49 wins. I think 26, 27 already have been against former champions. It's like, how many champions does he have to beat? And then if you want to go to the Pacquiao comparison, all you got to look at is 3 simple factors. One, he beat people like De La Hoya and Ricky Hatton, who had never been beaten when he fought Floyd before Pacquiao fought him. He beat De La Hoya and Cotto at 154. In fact, Cotto has never lost a fight at 154, but the fight that he lost to Floyd. And then number 3, most importantly, and I've asked him directly, Juan Marquez does not want a rematch with Floyd Mayweather, but yeah, he's trying to fight Manny Pacquiao 5 times. That speaks for itself.
And that's a given, but I'm not a Manny Pacquiao fan. I'm thinking all the time, because I have this theory that if you put money in the 80s and he had to go against the 4 kings, let's say he had to go against Sugar Ray, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, the Hitman Tommy Hearns, and Roberto Duran, I think he would only go 2-2 if he was fighting those guys. Everybody in their prime.
Which 2 you got beating them?
See, I don't know. It would depend. Sugar Ray was so smart, knew how to score points. Hagler would beat him.
Hagler's the only one that's funny. Hagler's the only one I think would give him problems. Hagler's the only one I think would give him problems. People don't realize Floyd's dad fought Sugar Ray. He didn't have the power that Floyd has, and he gave Sugar Ray problems. Just Sugar Ray had more power and ended up knocking him out. Floyd's dad gave Sugar Ray problems. Yeah,
he did, and I've seen that fight. Sugar Ray is very smart. And Tommy Hearns is big, man. Tommy Hearns has an overhand right. I know those guys beat him, but and Roberto Duran, until later in his career, until the No Mas fight with Sugar Ray, until that point, he would go. You had to kill him. Like, he didn't give up. So you're looking at 4. How great was boxing back then? And even the Hagler loss, there's some conspiracies around that to Sugar Ray. I don't know. I just think he would go 2-2, but I can't tell you which 2 would beat him and who wouldn't. I just thought if he fought those caliber, those 4 guys, different fighters, Hearns so big, Hagler was just so mean and a bully and didn't stop. And I think Sugar Ray was very intelligent, as Mayweather is, or Roberto Duran just to the best. I think he would go 2-2 at best.
But that thing, too, Floyd is a savant in the ring. He rarely makes any mistakes, rarely. He actually made a couple last fight. He got a perfect fight against Canelo, and he only made a minimal mistake against Guerrero, and that's more the way he turned his punches, because he ended up spraining his hand, because he would have got Guerrero out of there.
But these are different guys.
He barely makes mistakes.
I think Canelo is a little bit slower. I don't think he's that caliber. He's a good fighter, but Mayweather just treated him like he was an amateur.
Yeah, but Canelo, see, it's all about styles, not to be funny, but Canelo is a Mexican fighter. He has problems with African fighters, African-American male fighters. Look at Lara, nowhere near good as boxer as Floyd, gave him all he wanted. That style is going to be Canelo's kryptonite. It's going to take, he's going to have to, for him to be that superstar he has the potential to be, he's going to have to learn how to beat that style legitly. Because if Lara would have threw a few more punches, he wouldn't have won that fight. And it's kind of funny. It's the same similar style that Floyd did, just not as on a higher level. That's all it was. But it gave him all he wanted. Whenever you see Canelo miss over 70% of his punches, he even throw as many against Floyd, but he actually landed 30%. Against Lara, he landed 22.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. Kendrick Johnson there, thank you for joining Through the Wire.
I appreciate it.
Who are those guys?
Catfish Hughes here, Through the Wire Sports Talk Radio. That was Kendrick Johnson from The Source magazine. On the fight this weekend, Mayweather-Maidana, I feel like Maidana can win. I feel like he has more of a chance than what people are thinking. I feel like he won the first 3, maybe 3.5 rounds of the first fight. I think he was a bully, and he is bigger than Floyd. Floyd figured him out, figured out the whole puzzle, and he won the fight. And I did have him getting the decision on my card as well. But I think Maidana can make it a brawl and kind of go after Mayweather. So we'll see what happens. It is boxing, and one punch can change the whole sport. And I'm not one of those guys that says Mayweather has ducked people throughout his career. I don't think he's ducked people like people want to say. I don't think that the caliber of fighters have been there in their primes to meet Mayweather. Now he's saying he's going to do this fight against Maidana, who he's already beaten. And, I think he knows he can go in there and win that as long as he doesn't slip up and catch a bad punch. I think he'll win on the card regardless because it is Vegas and that's his home. And he is 46-0, so he probably would get the decision. For Maidana, you got to go in and beat the champ. I just think Maidana has more of a chance than what people are giving him after watching the first fight. I think he won early in the fight. Mayweather was kind of flustered with the size of Maidana. Now, more boxing news. Last weekend, Adrian Broner fought in his hometown of Cincinnati against Emmanuel Taylor in what was the fight of the year, a 12-round classic. It was very close going into the 12th round. It was close going into the final 20 seconds until Broner hit Taylor with a left, knocking him to the ground, the only knockdown of the entire fight. And Broner gets the win and moves on to 29-1 with 22 knockouts. Broner and Mayweather need to fight. We need to make that happen. There's a lot of fights that we need to see happen right now for the sport of boxing, the sweet science, and we need to see the best fighters fighting. And I think there is the weight issue with Broner and Mayweather, but they can make it work. And I don't think that Adrian Broner is in the same caliber, the same class all time that Mayweather is. But I think if they fought, he would have that epic fight, that one night where he just comes out and just fights and he wins. I think he would. I think he might lose early, but if he could stick around, I think he would beat Mayweather. And not just because of the age. I just think it's like a fate thing where he's not the better boxer, but that's the guy that he wants to beat. Not really Larry Holmes Ali, because when Holmes beat Ali, Ali was 105 years old. Not like that. And I just think it'll be something else, something special, if they can fight. And Broner and everybody saying that they're too good of friends to fight, they need to just cut it out because they're boxers, and they need to go have this fight for the sport and for the fans. The first time that Phil Jackson introduced Kobe Bryant to Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant looked at Michael Jordan and he said, "I could beat you one-on-one." Now, Kobe idolized Michael Jordan. He's the remix of Michael Jordan. His whole game is based off of Michael Jordan. But he said that, and he meant it, and he would have tried to do it, given the chance. So to say Adrian Broner looks up to Floyd Mayweather too much is true, but Broner needs to cut it out. And Mayweather, I think, is scared of Broner. And again, I don't think Broner is a better boxer than Mayweather. All time, anytime, except for one time if they met in the ring. I think it might happen. It's one of those things where I see it might happen. But Floyd Mayweather Jr. has announced that he will retire next year. 2 more fights left. And I think one of them should be against Adrian Broner. They have the weight issue. To discuss Adrian, the problem Broner versus Floyd Money Mayweather. So, more money, more problems. That's what we would call the fight. More money, more problems. How could Mayweather and Broner not want to pick up and capitalize financially off of that? Now, our next guest is the boxer Anthony Golden Arms Barnes, who was trained by Emmanuel Stewart before Emmanuel passed away. Now, Anthony Barnes